We're here today at the London Stadium for the Sports Tech World Series. Atrium Sports have sponsored this event in Melbourne, in Dallas and Tokyo, and now we're very pleased to be here in London in what's actually becoming a growing sports tech hub.
Ladies and gentlemen, I would like you to give a very warm welcome to Mr. Bob Hope.
Yeah, I've been in basketball for over 40 years, was an international gymnast, got injured, went into the next sport which I loved, which was basketball, and became a professional coach. Coached 7 years in the BBL. Asked the question why basketball was never televised, and it was always said, well, it clashes with horse racing or something else.
Our new business is all about helping sports, particularly second-tier sports, to produce content.
Again, I said that I've got a TV background, so we've been pioneering and I've been doing due diligence for the last 3 years on automated TV production. And one of the speakers today from Atrium, they own a company called Key Motion, and it's the company that we've gone with, and we're installing the systems in all 12 arenas. You can see the basketball, you can see what the output is, because every game, 242 games, are now televised for free on YouTube.
Atrium Sports is a new company founded earlier this year by myself and 6 other Australians. Although we're a new company, the people behind it are very much old heads. We've been doing sports technology at the highest level of basketball with the NBA and with FIBA, and in football with FIFA and the Asian Football Confederation for the past 20 years.
I was interested in how you sort of view the framework, the context, when you think about sports technology. You know, do you put it into buckets that certain things from performance to fan engagement? How do you think about it?
The overarching, the sort of governing process is that of digital transformation, which interestingly is becoming more current. I'm hearing more and more sports executives talk about it openly. Digital transformation is a thing, and sport has only really, I think, started to hit digital transformation in the last, say 10 years-ish, and my bet would be it's probably going to continue going through digital transformation as a process for at least another 10 and probably 20 years. So there's a hell of a long way to go there. And as ever, you get organisations that react very well and those that react less well. And sport generally, particularly because quite often soccer has got so much money around it and so much audience around it, it has not needed to move. Warner Music, famously in I think it was the early noughties, about 2002, their CEO just immediately stopped talking about records and started talking about downloads.
Sport is going to be hit in the same way other industries are hit by megatrends. I mean, what do you see as the big impacts they're going to, technology-wise, thinking artificial intelligence, thinking, that sort of area? What are the areas that you see are going to be impacting sport and sport needs to be thinking about today?
Some of those things are already happening, like, they always tend to have long, fancy words, but democratization is one that gets sort of talked about. The ability to be able to film and share and stream at a very local level, but unless the organisation that they go to has an awareness and an understanding of what you can do with it and how to implement it, it's pretty pointless, pretty much. And who in the room is a gamer? Who plays games of some form or count themselves as a gamer? Right, that's as more, if not many, than the coders and more than the geeks. There's your lesson right there. And we've worked with various federations and clubs trying to work out what is your position in the world of games. And frankly, a lot of the time, your position should be, you should be learning from games. Yep. You mentioned to me before, like, what's the Uber moment, like or the Airbnb or the technology that has kind of flipped it. I feel like sport has seen sort of several small tremors already. And one of them, probably the most recent one, which I think is really interesting, is to your point about attention spans, is the Premier League has changed the rights ability of the clubs to put out the highlights of their own games. So when Man United win, they put out the highlights on YouTube. When Man United lose, they don't put out the highlights on YouTube. So Newcastle United put out the highlights on YouTube, and because the rule changes, the highlights are, this is going to be probably wrong, but I think it's 8 minutes or 7 minutes. Like, it's quite a lot. And the result of that is you can put that out from 10 p.m. on match day. And previously it was the midnight of that day or the midnight of the day after. So quite a long delay. The important highlights you would want to watch are on YouTube within a few hours of the game anyway.
Our new business is all about helping sports, particularly second-tier sports, to produce content and do that with minimum human intervention. So using the latest technologies to capture the video content, to enhance it, to distribute it, and to monetize that content.
Historically, in our time in sports tech over the last 20 years, we've played a lot of the lower tier. We were sort of doing grassroots in Australia a long time ago. And the comment was made earlier, sometimes you think you're a bit of ahead of your time and what happens. And I couldn't understand why I couldn't go to Nike and say, I've got 500,000 people who play basketball, or I've got 700,000 people who play soccer. Why don't you write me a 7-figure check and sponsor that instead of spending money at the elite level? Surely you're all about selling to people that need a new pair of boots. We had a very successful Women's World Cup. There's a lot of interest in women's sport. I see it big time in Australia. What things are you seeing in terms of how women's sports sponsors, how the growth and support of the women's sport?
One of the immediate things is access to athletes is so different. Do you want all the good bits from men's soccer, but how do you get that without getting all the bad bits from men's soccer?
It's important for us to be involved in events like this because this is where you see the new startups, this is where you get feedback from the sports and some of the pressing problems that they've got. Today was a fantastic event. Everybody I spoke to, the delegates, the sponsors, were very happy with it. The sports, there was some great discussion around the challenges and the issues that sport is facing today and how startups and others can help provide solutions to address some of those problems. So hats off to Vimero for organising this conference today and part of the Sports Tech World Series, a fantastic event here in London.